Now in Darfur, there are reports again of militias that are engaging certainly in killings, and I think there have been some scattered reports of enslavement once again. But here it's different because you're actually dealing with there's a racial component too, because you're dealing with at least nominal Muslims. The Darfur Muslims may have retained some of their animist traditions, but they are nominally Muslim. So although this is not without precedent, I mean, there have been waves of jihad, particularly in Africa, where those professing to be Muslims were not felt to be pious enough, were declared infidels and therefore listed for jihad campaigns. So
it became Dar al-Harb again.
Exactly, exactly.
Wow. There's a great movie which you had mentioned, America, America. Can you tell us about that? Why that's a good movie for the viewers to see?
I think there's another pervasive myth. You know, we talked about the myth of Andalusia. There's the myth of Ottoman tolerance. The Ottoman Empire and before them the Seljuk Turks was also founded on jihad, and the Ottoman Empire achieved great status in terms of accumulating wealth and power, but it was a Sharia state. So the system of governing non-Muslims in the Ottoman Empire was no different than in other Sharia states. Jews and Christians were subjected to the same conditions and laws that I outlined earlier, which included their abasement and their having to live under rules which prevented their testimony, which subjected them to discriminatory clothing that they had to wear, restricted where they could live, restricted the professions they could engage in, etc. So this was, so in other words, so the Ottoman Empire was really just another Sharia state.
Well, some people might say, you know, there's a rule of law in every civilization. So why are you surprised that there's Sharia law in a Islamic civilization?
Oh, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I just think we have to be clear as to what it is. I mean, in simple terms, and why we have to be concerned when there's a suggestion that we should go back to the Ottoman system, or when the Organization of the Islamic Conference, which now represents 57 nations, has to have a separate universal declaration of human rights in Islam, where the Sharia overarches. Because the Sharia does two basic things. It sacralizes and makes inferior all non-Muslims relative to Muslims, and it sacralizes and makes inferior all women, including Muslim women, relative to men. When the Universal Declaration of Human Rights document came out, it was a Senegalese jurist who at the time was very much involved with the UN Human Rights Commission, Adama Dieng, and he was Muslim. Very secular, but he was a Muslim and a trained lawyer. And he pointed out exactly that problem with this document, that it would not comport with what are the recognized rights of modern societies as exemplified in our Bill of Rights or the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And he felt that it was a very dangerous document.
There was a positive trend recently coming out of Tunisia, and I played a little bit of music out of Tunisia.
Yes.
Tell us about...
Yeah, there was the Middle East Media Research Institute, which does very, very accurate translations, despite criticisms. Any time they've been vetted, they've been shown to be completely accurate, and they have been following positive trends in the Muslim world, particularly the Arab Muslim world, with regard to liberal intellectuals. They have translated many pieces written by courageous liberal intellectuals. And there was a piece recently from a Tunisian intellectual who felt that it was time for Muslims, the Islamic elites, to engage in the kind of mea culpa that has become sort of routine in non-Muslim societies, particularly in the West.
That would be reform, mea culpa.
Yeah, openly acknowledge the legacy of these institutions, the jihad and the condition imposed upon non-Muslims. Those were two examples.
Like the Pope going to Jerusalem and saying the Crusades were wrong.
Exactly. In other words,
we're sorry. Forgive us.
That's right. The whole process of Reformation that came about vis-a-vis Vatican II, acknowledging an open mea culpa, a call for the commonality of humanity through acknowledgement of wrongs, and I think the Western society has discussed openly the Crusades, religious fanaticism, communism, fascism, colonialism. These are discussions that we've had in the West, however much they've resonated or haven't resonated. These discussions haven't even begun, other than by an isolated intellectual. There should be a Mecca, Qom, Cairo one to discuss abrogating once and for all these sacralized institutions. That has to take place. Only the Muslims can do that. But to see an intellectual, and I don't know whether he was a practicing Muslim, whether he was secular, it doesn't matter. In either case, it's a good development, and it's the beginning of a discussion that has to take place within the Muslim community.
So the Muslim community has to give up the jihad.
The historically relevant jihad, the jihad war, yes, absolutely.
The imperative of Islam must conquer all, and everybody has to be Muslim.
Yeah, I clearly that must be, first of all, what it's meant needs to be acknowledged. I mean, how can you change an institution that you feel is perfect? That you're not willing, whose flaws you're not willing to discuss. I mean, that's the first part of the process. And the fact is that one of the essays that I include here by Bostom points out that really to this day, Muslim states, and particularly they have the Organization of the Islamic Conference, they don't really, because they have not renounced the jihad, they don't really accept some principles of international law and international relations. If you think of a Dar el-Harb, well, how can you respect the integrity of various states? We could go down a list.
Yes.
So if they pay lip service to the notion of international law but don't renounce the jihad, then
it's a window dressing.
It's meaningless. Yeah, it's meaningless. Yeah. And this is pointed out by Bostom, who is a Muslim himself. He's a professor in Germany. And he is a very good scholar of jihad theory.
Dr. Bostom, you're really very pleasurable having you here on Rabbi Rock and sharing your knowledge with the listening audience. May you be blessed, continue to do your good work, and come back again and continue to educate us.
Thanks very much.
Shalom.
En Adir Kadonai, en Baruch ben Amram, en Gedola Katora, en Dorsha ke Israel, en Gedola Katora, en Dorsha ke Israel, Mepiel Titbarach Israel, Mepiel Titbarach Israel. En Hador Kadonai, en Vatik ben Amram, en Zakka Katora, en Homdah ke Israel, en